Hi, it's Rick at Roaring Toyz. Today I'm going to show you how to do our bezel install on our 2015 Polaris Slingshot. Pretty easy job, basic hand tools, and we'll go over that with you in a minute, what it's going to take. Let me show you where you're going to start. You start off with a ratchet and a T40 nut driver here. Flashlight if you need it. If you can't see it, get up in there on the sides, in the back here on top, next to the gauges. Pull this key out. Don't have a problem with that. You're going to see a screw there, and the same on the other side. And these are T40 screws. Now I've already loosened these up, so it's going to make the video go a little bit quicker, but basically you're going to get in there and ratchet that off right there. As soon as it gets far enough, you can grab it with your fingers, twist that out. Go over the other side. Like I said, I've already got these a little bit loose just to go through this quickly here. This one's a little tougher to get to back here. Get that loose enough, it comes out, and you can grab it with your fingers after that. Okay. I'm going to switch out this T40 bit for 4mm Allen. Put that in there, and I'm going to need an extension because I'm going to have to get up in here. Now you could use a nut driver or whatever works for you, but it is 4mm. Flashlight. There's going to be 3 holes under here. 1, 2, 3. Don't worry about this one way up front. We're not going to take that out. That's a T40. There's a 4mm screws in each one of these, so we're going to take those out next. Get those out. In there. Right, let me have a look here so I can see where I'm at. Might have to get down like me here and see where those screws are at. There it is right there. Okay, it's tight. We'll pull these screws out here, loosen it up, twirl them out with your fingers. And we'll set that down on the floor with the other one. We'll get up in here and get this last one. There's only going to be 4 screws total, so it's not really that bad of a job. Just more bending and finding the head of the screw than anything. I have to look at this one too. Okay. There we go, I got it. Like I said, you might get lucky, get it by feel. I had to look, I couldn't feel it there. Okay, so that one's out. And all your screws are out. So what you're going to do, you're going to grab this upper panel, and just pick it up, and it's just wrapped around the gauges. Just got to get it out from around the gauges. Make sure it's all loose. Well, before I get ahead, let's go ahead and make sure this is lowered. I didn't have this lowered. So we'll lower that steering, lock that in. Okay, now we've got room to work. Push that up, and that comes out. So obviously, you want to have that down to get this panel out. And that's all there is to the panel. Set that aside. Now your gauges, you're going to take the gauges out. There's only 2 things holding the gauges, and that's the 2 harnesses. Reach back there, you'll feel a tab on the harness plug, and there's the speedometer. It's pretty easy to feel these. They're not like hidden. And you got those 2 unplugged, and out come your gauges. And just let me show you what I'm pushing on here on these plugs. So I'm just pushing down on that tab. It's just that tab releases it. You'll be able to feel it. You won't be able to see it, but you can feel it. Push it down, pull it off. Same on the speedometer. Push it down, pull it off. Okay, now here's the part that's really going to surprise you. There's nothing holding these gauges in except for the rubber grommets here that hold them in. There's no screws, no bolts, or nothing. So what you're going to do, and depending on how long you've had your slingshot, you might have to work them a little bit, but they're actually stuck in the rubber. So you take them and you just push them through till you get one out. That one came out real easy. You may not get yours out that easy. I don't know. It just depends on, like I say, how long you've had the vehicle. When you go to put these in, you'll notice on the rubber, and these rubbers do come out of here, that there's a locating tab here and here, and that's on the bottom. You can see the slot right here. And this slot on this and the slot on the gauge, that's what aligns the gauges. So when you get this back in, go ahead and put that back in there like that. Now, I don't suggest a lot of lubrication when you go back together with this, but if you took a little bit of a silicone spray and maybe gave that a little bit of a wipe, don't load it down, just a little bit. That'll make the gauge install when you go to push it back in much easier. All right, now that you got your gauge removed from your instrument cluster, I'm going to take this retaining ring off of here. It comes off real easy. I don't even think you'll need a pocket screwdriver. I can just pop it off with my fingers. Just clicks off. I mean, it's that simple. Click on, click off. That's the same way with the Roaring Toyz one. Nothing really here to line up. You're going to click it on. Well, actually, let me rephrase that. There is a little lineup right there. There's the lineup pin there. There's your lineup pin right here. So you want to get that lined up with that. Just click that on. That's simple. And that's on there. Well, we've gone ahead and we've snapped on our nice Roaring Toyz trim rings on our gauges. And I want to show you an easy way to install these. Now we have these set up on the gauges. You're going to take the rubber pieces that hold the gauges in, and there's a lineup piece on them right here. Lineup mark and a lineup mark in these holes here. You're just going to put them right in where they go. You can just work them in. It's not a real big deal. You work both those in there and get them lined up so that gauge drops in there where it's supposed to be. Pretty easy maneuver. Okay, so you got the rubbers installed back in the gauge cluster here. Now it's going to be, you know, it's a little difficult getting these gauges out. You know, you have to push them out, kind of work them out. So what you want to do, set this down for a minute here. Take a paper towel or a rag or something, clean towel, clean rag. Spray a little lube on, silicone lube, something like that. Spray it on the rag. If you take that, you wipe it around inside these rubber boots, you're going to find out that that gauge is going to go in a lot easier. And that'll kind of dry out, and the gauge will be in there real good. So, what do we have here? This one here. So we can take that. It's got a lineup slot right here. That little piece of plastic sticking up, and that's going to go right with a slot on the bottom of the gauge cluster. Just going to get that lined up. Got it lubed up. Look in the back if we have to make sure we're getting it in square. And then you can go ahead and you can push that gauge right back in. A little bit easier with the lube on there. Just keep working it back in until you get it all in there nice and flush. And there it is, installed. Pretty simple. Okay, go ahead and we'll do the same thing to the Tach. Wipe some of our lube around in there. Make sure I get it everywhere. Make it as easy as I can for myself. And again, line up slot on the plastic, line up slot on the cluster. Set it in there. Look on the back side, make sure you're getting it. I'll go ahead and get it lined up, and I'll go ahead and I'll push that in there. Just work it in there very carefully. Try not to push directly on the face, you don't crack it or anything. But once it's in, that lube is just a little tough. It goes in. Okay, so gauges are back in. Looks pretty good. So now we've got our gauges and our new bezels installed. We're going to go ahead and reassemble this. What we'll do is we're just going to go ahead and set it in there. Very carefully, not to scratch anything up. And before you get it mounted up, let's go ahead and get the wiring harnesses plugged back in. So we'll get that. You can feel them pretty good. They're a good size harness. You can feel them go in pretty good, and you want to listen for them to click. And pull on them a little bit, make sure you got it fully seated. Go over and reach the next one here. Can you see that? One there. You can, like I said, they're good enough size and shape that you can actually feel the way they're going in. So pretty simple. Get that in there. That's clicked in okay. You can pull on these, you can tell. You can tell if they're latched or not. These are definitely latched very well. And just slide that back in there. Slide that there. Now we need our other trim here. Take that, slide it in around the gauges. Just kind of gotta watch what you're doing and make sure all the tabs go in where they're supposed to go here. Need a little bit of work this around so it drops in. Seems like everything's flopping around here, but it's really not. Once it's all lined up, it all finds its home pretty good. Like this tab will be under here, these tabs will be under. Everything will start to line up. And what I would do first is go ahead and put our Allen screws in the bottom of this first. And get up in there, find the hole. Might need to lean under there and the flashlight if you have to. I guess I've done this enough times I can pretty much feel it in there. Here's the second one, we'll get that started. Started. If you want to start these side ones, get everything started before you give everything a final tighten. Put the side ones in, which are your Torx, your bigger screws. Wiggle the gauges a little bit. There, I've got it started. But you know you've got it all correctly positioned when all this stuff just drops right in. Said you might need to move a few things, wiggle a little bit. There it goes, drops right in. You go ahead and get this all tightened up and you're done. That's what we'll do right now. We'll go ahead and get that. Good. Put your steering wheel back where you want it, wherever you want it, up, down, wherever. You're good to go. See how that looks. Very nice. Roaring Toyz bezel install.